We'll play a pre-recorded message from my colleague Ken, who did this before. And what I'll do is once the pre-recorded presentation is done, I'll field any Q&A right after, okay?
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Yusuf.
No problem.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this session where I will share how organizations can start to supercharge API developments, right? Using low-code platforms to democratize APIs in your organization. Before we begin, let me share a little bit about myself. My name is Ken. I am the Solutions Consulting Director at Workato and has about 18 plus years of experience in the space of API and integration. Outside of work, I spend a lot of time reading sci-fi books and most recently revisiting the Isaac Asimov Foundation series. Please do look me up on LinkedIn. I really would love to get connected with you to exchange ideas. Now, in today's session, we will look into how APIs power connected customer experiences, the challenges behind building them, and how local platforms like Workato can address these challenges to empower more people to create APIs. Now, let's jump right into it. Okay, so today, we all know APIs are the fundamental building blocks in creating great customer experience. And for me, an example of this great customer experience is, in COVID times, I'm sure a lot of us have gone a little bit perhaps over in shopping, but when an e-commerce platform makes it really easy for me to both purchase and manage my orders, everything from understanding what my preferences are and to keeping the track of my addresses, my preferred payment methods, etc., etc. And most of all, I think I really like it when you make the order, right? You get notified of the delivery status especially in a timely manner. You don't even need to actually go and search for it. I think that's really to me, some of the great customer experience I felt. Businesses that creates these great experiences are the ones that keeps on winning their customers, right? Over and over again. And if you really think about it, it's not real rocket science to do this either. A lot of what they do is really simply making use of the information that we actually as consumers have already provided them. And all they really did is simply making sure that these informations are available whenever they need it, and this and not just available, but are well connected across all their different systems as well, right? So that's one thing we've seen. But of course, on the flip side, I'm sure we all had our fair share of stories around perhaps not so great customer experience as well, right? Personally, for myself, I had once the unfortunate time where I double ordered some big ticket item, just because there's no confirmation of that whether the order was successful or not, and because I wasn't sure, I made the order again, and turns out that I had ordered that item twice. And what's worse is when I tried to contact the customer service for support, it was really frustrating, right? Because I kept having to always repeat the issue over and over again as they transferred me to different agents to resolve my issue. Now, I'm sure these experiences will probably be the last one for you for such a retailer perhaps, right? Because with this bad experience, would you go and buy from them again? Probably not. But you kind of think, does retailer really want such a broken experience for their customers? I'm sure not. So that's the question. Encounter disconnected services like this, and I think it's very revealing once we once we understand where the customer data really lives inside an organization. Now today, the SaaS explosion has truly transformed how companies do business with their customers, and a lot of this is for the better. Studies have shown that on the average, an organization runs roughly about 110 SaaS applications at any one time. Now, while this actually does create a lot of value in their daily operations in serving customers, unfortunately, it also creates a lot of data silos across the organization. Now, we see this, quite often every day. Sales, for example, owns a CRM tool like Salesforce or HubSpot, while the engineering teams perhaps may manage multiple databases, right? And in IT, you perhaps could have some legacy systems that is still running some mission-critical processes, for example, maybe order management. And this different ownership of these systems actually means access could be restricted between these different teams. Now that of course creates a lot of challenge as well when you serve your customers. Now, for example, right, say a customer signed up and purchase, the services from your organization. The sales information is in the CRM. Now, the product team will need this order information for them to provision the necessary features to be made available for that customer. Now, unfortunately, they may not have access to the CRM system. Now, on a different scenario, a customer agent may need the information of a customer account and perhaps some detailed usage information from the databases in the production system. Now, naturally, they would have access to the production database. Now, in both of these cases, there are actually very good reasons to deny access from different teams to the critical systems. Now, of course, the question is, if we want to get all this connected and create great customer experience, how do we really reconcile this? Now, the answers, of course, is APIs. Data from various apps can actually be exposed through APIs without necessarily giving different teams or other users access to the application itself. Through APIs, you can actually secure the sharing of data to the right people or the right applications with the proper controls in place. API then, in this case, acts as the fabric that unifies all of your customer data. Now, companies, of course, today are under tremendous pressure to move really, really fast to meet the demands. And as we all can see it in the pandemic, the acceleration towards their digital transformation strategy has never been higher in demand. Now, that then begs the question, why don't everyone already use APIs, right? Because if everyone understands that you can actually be a lot more connected, a survey by Forrester has showed that 94% of the business processes still continue to rely on emails and spreadsheets. And to make things worse, 75% of them are actually done manually. Now, why is that? One thing that we've seen, in order to get to the bottom of this challenge, right, is that we first need to ask the question, who builds this API? Now, when we think about APIs, we often forget about the actual scale of supporting the infrastructure that's required. Now, as you see in this diagram, it is actually not that trivial. It is not just building and coding the API. There's a lot that needs to happen around that as well. So when the rubber hits the road, most companies will turn to engineering because this is a fairly complex problem to solve. Now, don't get me wrong, engineering is a good choice, and there's great reasons why you want to have a robust API to be built. The challenge here is really the amount of resources that's available. And naturally, if a lot of surplus requests comes in, they will be delayed because engineering, as best as the team that you have, even a world-class team will take some time building these APIs, right? So we really need to consider these technical barriers, right? And the shortage of skills that is really required to implement APIs across your organization. Now, the next thing beyond just the infrastructure and the underlying technical barriers, there is also the need and the challenge to keep up with the pace of business. Now, I think we all can agree that a business is expected to adapt very quickly to remain competitive. Every time you build or create a new feature, very quickly your competitors will start to pick it up as well. This causes a lot of challenges to even the engineering teams that's creating these APIs, right? Because every little small changes to your APIs requires the team to be involved. Now, as we've seen earlier, writing this code involves a lot of work, and of course, for good reason, right? We don't want to break things as we iterate them. The unfortunate thing, of course, in this is to any changes to go live, there may not actually be value to do it anymore. So oftentimes we also see, because of the time it takes to make changes, oftentimes this request actually gets sidelined, and a lot of our customers then just settle for less, or they basically go about not innovating as they. And I think this where local platforms can be helped, because we consider all these things. This is no wonder why a local really speed up all of these APIs. And when we at Workato here created our API platform, we wanted to address this specific problem. We saw that the business landscape is about, you can build APIs. How do you make it to low technical barriers? What we've done here is to provide a fully managed
get into these setbacks sometimes. That's not a problem. What I'll do is I'll kind of continue on where Ken left off, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, go for it.
Okay, sure. So, I mean, by way of introduction, I'm based out of Toronto, Canada. I'm a solution architect with Workato. And what I'll be doing is I'll kind of pick up where Ken left off. I believe what I'll do is I'll quickly share my slides. Just give me 1 second here. And Kirsty, if you can just give me a visual nod if you see it working. Can you see my screen?
I can indeed. Yep, can see it.
Perfect. So I think where Ken left off was, again, the challenges of developing APIs, right? So I think what we're saying at Workato is the ability to go and democratize the building of these APIs in a platform that is widely accessible by service integration specialists, but also non-full-time service integration specialists as well, thereby lowering the barrier for being able to adopt these APIs within an organization. So in terms of what we can have in store is the ability to go ahead and show you a live example of how easy it is to build code or APIs without any sort of substantial coding, the ability to deploy these via zero DevOps and be able to make changes and be able to iterate rapidly. So with that, what I'll do is I'll take a few seconds to log into my demo. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, so this is an example of what Workato looks like. This is fully in the cloud, deployed as an iPaaS. And what you're looking at is the kind of the startup screen for where you can start editing and developing and authoring your APIs. So an example of which is the following. So if you think about what API development looks like, typically it's very technical. This is an example of an integration that we're doing with, let's say, Salesforce and Jira to be able to integrate data between cases being created in Salesforce and issues being created in Jira. So the ability for us to go ahead and provide the development environment in the cloud, the ability to use the underlying APIs underneath Salesforce and the underlying APIs underneath Jira allow us to really accelerate the development of these integrations without having to be very super technical. So if I were to stop this integration, which again runs on our Docker Kubernetes-based platform, what you can quickly do is start authoring these integrations, whether it be direct system to system, which leverage the underlying APIs of the application, or actually building a new set of composable APIs on top of your existing APIs or applications. We allow you to go ahead and support both types of patterns of integration. So for example, with every recipe that we build, and the recipe being the metaphor for any type of integration job or API that we build, you have the ability to go ahead and change the trigger point of how this API or this recipe is triggered. So for example, this one happens to be triggered by Salesforce. We have the ability to change that and make it a REST API as well, right? So that you have that capability. The other thing here is once you start building your integrations, you have a ability to go ahead and access a wide variety of different types of applications. So for example, in here, we are using the Jira connector, which again, wraps around the Jira APIs provided. And similarly speaking, any applications under the sun, whether it be SaaS or on-prem, or actual technologies like web services and REST APIs in general, as well as JDBC, all these things can be exposed and accessed via the Workato platform. Net, the idea here is the ability to go ahead and be very agile and be able to change and adopt your APIs that you are building, but without having to have a lot of technical know-how to build these, thereby democratizing the access to the platform. So with that, let me see where we're at here. So very quick demo. And when you have this ability, what you're able to do is when you look at that diagram that Ken had on his screen, we take away a lot of the guesswork, a lot of the effort that it takes to set up a robust API infrastructure and the implementation underneath. And by having the customers or our customers focus on the business logic and the workflows. And this way, we are able to accelerate the delivery of APIs within the organization, or also have the ability to expose these APIs outside the organization as well.